Miscellaneous minds, never explaining the minds. Devilish grin for my alias, aliens who respond. Peddling sin, thinking maybe when you get old you realize I'm not gonna fold or demise. I don't smoke crack, motherfucker, I sell it.
What is going on, everybody? This is the Miscellaneous Minds podcast. I'm your co-host, Boomer Gato, the cat that hands you your goat status back. And to my left over here is the main man. He sees De Niro, the man that makes the fat stacks. Take it away from the dynamic duo that won't die. Deadly ideas, but spicier content than your girl's OnlyFans.
What is going on, everybody? Before we get into tonight's topic, please make sure to like, comment, hate, subscribe, DM us about the bullshit. And with that, let's get right into it. So, as we all saw last night at UFC 309, we had a couple of big victories. Our predictions all came true. Listen, some of them were pretty easy predictions to make. A lot of you guys actually thought Chandler was going to win, but you know, what happened. Let's get right into it. So, in the co-main event, we had Charles Oliveira going up against Michael Chandler, my apologies. And listen, what happened? It happened just like we said. The only thing that different is it went to a unanimous decision. But let's keep it a buck here. The reality of it is Charles Oliveira dominated every single round. Now, don't get me wrong. In the fifth round, Michael Chandler made us all believe for a second. We all believed it was about to happen. You know, out of nowhere, Michael Chandler caught Charles Oliveira with a couple of good punches, made Charles Oliveira go down. And we thought that was going to be it. Now, some things did get brought to my attention by my co-host here. I guess a lot of people were a little mad at the number of behind-the-head punches, which there was a lot of them. But other than that, once that moment died down, that was his one moment, Michael Chandler's one moment to take back the match. He had lost all 4 rounds, and up until that moment, he was losing that round, the 5th round as well. I predicted that Charles Oliveira would win. He did as well. I thought it was going to be somewhere in the 3rd or 4th round. I believe, if I remember correctly, that I thought the finish was going to come. But listen, it went to UD. Either way, it was a dominant win. I'll be honest with you. With Islam, if Islam didn't exist, Charles Oliveira would still be champion. Charles Oliveira would be champion again, if Islam didn't exist. Unfortunately for Charles, I think Islam just has too many good tools in his belts, and he's phenomenal at his wrestling to the point where I don't think Charles Oliveira can compete with that. Now, don't get me wrong, I actually like Charles Oliveira over Islam. I don't have anything against Islam. I think Islam's a great guy as well. I just prefer, generally the style of a Charles Oliveira compared to an Islam. But look, listen, the number one thing we talk to you guys about all the time is we're going to keep it real with you. I may favor Charles Oliveira as an individual, but if we're talking about the fight game, Islam has his number. This makes 2 times now for Michael Chandler that he's gone to a loss to Charles Oliveira. So unfortunately, this pushes him back. And listen, when Michael Chandler made us believe that he could pull it off in that final round, I was with him. I'm like, he won me because of that. Don't get me wrong, I was already a fan, but I'm like, man, this man really makes people believe. And then it went to the post-fight, interview right after the fight, and he said a number of things. I agree with every single one, except this call out of McGregor. Listen, you got to get over it, big dog. That time has passed. Move on. It's time to let that dream go. I know you wanted it. The reality of McGregor coming back, I think, is extremely low. And if he does come back, he's going to have one final fight, and that'll be it. I honestly don't think that McGregor's going to stick around if he comes back at all. I don't think he's going to, but it is what it is. That being said, listen, it was a great fight for Charles Oliveira. Again, very dominant through every single round. If I'm being honest, he dominated standing up. He dominated on the ground game. He dominated everywhere. There was really rarely a moment, other than the 5th round, that Michael Chandler did anything that made me believe he could win the fight. What do you think about that, my man?
Listen, over the entire fight, Charles Oliveira was basically breaking down Michael Chandler. Even if he didn't get it to a submission win or even to a knockout victory, the fact of the matter is there was one crucial part, and again, it was in round 5 where it was a flash in the pan for Michael Chandler, where he could have feasibly actually eked out a victory, but Charles Oliveira has just been giving in those sneak attacks to the I believe it was to the left knee, and throughout the fight, Michael Chandler has been buckling under that knee a couple times, a couple crucial points in the fight, and in that round 5, in that flurry that Michael Chandler was about to give to Charles Oliveira, he was about to rush him, but then he just buckled under that knee, and it was just that split second I don't want to say mistake. It was just unfortunate circumstances. Just the fact that his knee buckled at the crucial moment where he could have eked out a victory, and unfortunately, it was one of those things where Charles Oliveira actually doing not minimal, not significant, but at least chopping down the tree right from under Michael Chandler that would basically save them from what could have been a disastrous loss on his end. But either way, again, Charles Oliveira, again, dominant on the feet, dominant on the ground game. I'm not going to lie, for as tenacious as a fighter as Michael Chandler was in this fight, hell, you even saw that he even picked up Charles Oliveira to deliver basically a backpack slam, right? Like twice in the last 30 seconds of the fight. I'm not going to lie, I was at the very least mildly disappointed in Michael Chandler with some of the dirty tactics that was going on in the ring. A couple eye pokes. I think it was like at least 3 eye pokes that were attempted. One of them I think was successful in I think the first round. God knows how many rabbit punches, the amount of times that he was clinging onto the cage. I'm not gonna lie, it was a nice performance by Michael Chandler, soured by a couple of dirty tactics here and there. And again, we all saw the call out. We all saw the tenacity that he was giving in his post fight presser. And then he had to go mention Conor McGregor, and I'm like, all right, dog, you were doing phenomenally. Then you fumble the landing, and I'm like, all right, dog, I'm not really here for this. That's 2 more years of your life potentially down the drain, chasing for a fight that's never gonna happen. That was never gonna happen in the first place. Which again, I feel like the post-fight presser was very emblematic of the fight itself. There was a bunch of flash in the pans, brilliance, and then he absolutely fumbled the landing with whatever the hell that call out was, and even the performances that he had in the ring. Again, I feel like the performance that he had in the ring and what he gave in his presser, I feel like it were kind of mirror images of each other.
Yeah, man. Listen, again, that was that little, like you said, flash in the pan in that 5th round. That was his moment. If there was ever going to be a moment in time where he was going to win, that was it. The rest of the fight was clearly dominated by Charles Oliveira. It is what it is. Again, Charles Oliveira has proven that he's a better fighter over Michael Chandler now twice. So unfortunately for Michael Chandler, it looks like he might be going to the back of the line when it comes to the 155-pound title. Charles Oliveira, again, mentioned by the commentary team, looks like he might be up next to get a chance at Islam, but we'll see. I know Islam, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Islam is currently injured, so he's going to be out until at least next year. But sometime in the mid, I believe, of next year. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Again, great fight by Charles Oliveira, dominated every single round, and fought, to a well-earned unanimous decision victory. Now let's get to the main event, and the number one thing that we kind of noticed from this is what we said came true. Old man Stipe was at the fight. Don't get me wrong, old man Stipe is still a fighter at heart. He refused to go down until he went down. He took a number of big punches, a lot of ground and pound, great elbows by Jon Jones when he had him on the ground. Good work from Jon Jones, definitely in the ground and pound in the beginning. I'm sorry, near the end of the round. Round 1, the final elbow actually cut Stipe under the right eye. And it wasn't too bad. The good thing it was under the right eye, obviously. That being said, listen, the first round clearly dominated by Jon Jones. Second round clearly dominated by Jon Jones. Throughout this time, Jon Jones was putting in a good work to the body, a good amount of work to the body, kicks, punches, all that, and it definitely seemed like it was working. At different points, you definitely saw Stipe squint a little bit, go down, wince a little bit from the pain. So you could tell that it was affecting him, which I actually told my man here, it's actually a little bit ironic because a lot of the work that Stipe put in against DC was to the body, which ended up giving him the heavyweight title way back when. So it's a little bit ironic to see the same essentially happen to Stipe. Third round is when they finally, the axe got dropped. Jon Jones doing a phenomenal spinning back kick to the body. Went down right down the middle perfectly. And that was it. There was a little bit more ground and pound at the bottom, but the reality is after that, Stipe wasn't getting up. You could tell that kick clearly took him out. And listen, Jon Jones said it himself. Stipe is a tough man, but nobody gets up from that type of kick. And fair enough, man. It landed perfectly. Perfectly right where it needed to land. Liver shot, and that was it. That being said, listen, we called it from the beginning. Unfortunately, Stipe just had too much time out of the ring. Stipe is again older, so the reflexes just weren't as good, and it reflected in the match. If you saw him, he was hesitant. He just didn't know how to get in there. The only time that he really had any success is the few times that he rushed John Jones, and he landed a couple good hooks here and there. But for the most part, he seemed, I don't want to say confused. He seemed like he just wasn't aware of when to pick his spots. He wasn't, like, he was hesitant too much. And he was really fighting John Jones' fight. He was fighting him at the distance, and John Jones has a longer reach. And John Jones is phenomenal in the distance. With that, he was able to pick him apart here and there, and eventually landing that final kick. This was John Jones' fight to lose. Again, we had picked John Jones to win. I can't remember if I said, I believe I might have said it in the second or third round. I can't remember quite sure. I have to go back and watch the video. But again, listen, it happened just like we said it was. We did foresee a finish for John Jones, and it is what it is. Unfortunately, Stipe is a great guy, one of the greatest heavyweights of all time when it comes to the UFC. It's just too much time out of the ring, and I believe age caught up with him. It is what it is. Shout out to John Jones. He did his thing. He fought the perfect fight that he always fights for himself. I thought it was the exact way that John wanted to win the fight, the exact pace, the exact distance, everything was in John Jones' favor, and he really set the pace for the fight. What do you think about that, my man?
I'm not gonna lie, it definitely was smart on John Jones's part to decide the tempo, the pace, the situation of every single exchange that was in the fight. There were a couple times where John Jones was actually attempting to be aggressive towards Stipe, and Stipe actually countered him with a couple of I think it was a couple of left hooks, basically clipped him on his way in. And that seemed like to be like at least the perfect recipe that Stipe was looking for, was because I think there was even a couple parts where Stipe was actually waiting for John Jones to enter in with some kind of starting jab, and that seemed like to be the story of the match, that Stipe was trying to look for a perfect counter to John Jones being aggressive. And most of the time when Stipe actually got a good entryway to hit him with the combinations, he did hit him with at least some combinations, but every single time that exchange like that happened, John Jones kept getting on his bike and trying to reset the situation, or trying to reassess a good entry point into Stipe. It should be noted that Stipe, for the most part, again, was trying to look for a perfect counter. Believe it was into I think it was the tail end of the second or the very beginning of the third round. They gave the punch stats, and I think it was Stipe landing about 41% of his punches and John Jones landing at least 76%. And look, even if you account for power, the fact that John Jones was landing as much as he did, and the amount of damage that you saw on Stipe being via the cut under the eye, the fact that he was wincing under every single body kick that John Jones is delivering to Stipe. The fact of the matter is, like, Stipe was holding out, and he was holding out against God knows what. All the amount of elbows that John Jones is delivering to Stipe, you can see that he was bleeding from the mouth, and he was catching perfect elbows square on the face. So honestly, it was a matter of time before Stipe was going to succumb to something, whether or not it was going to be a KO or a TKO or whether or not he was going to retire in the ring. But the fact of the matter is, Stipe held out against a lot of abuse, and whether you think this fight should have been made or not, the fact of the matter is, Stipe did die in his sword tonight. He retired in the ring, and again, you can't fault Stipe for what happened in the ring, nor can you fight John Jones for the fight being made. I doubt he was the one that was booking this matchup. And again, I can't fault either man for going about the business the way they did. I can't fault John Jones for not wanting to fight Stipe's fight, because honestly, if you're fighting into somebody, you don't ever want to fight their fight. And I can't fault Stipe for wanting to find a perfect counter if he feels like that's what was working best for him, and it was for the most part. But the fact that you were not being the aggressor and you were taking the brunt of the blows, the fight was going to be over in only a matter of a time. The only question was, how long was it going to go? And it stands to reason it lasted until about the third round, when he succumbed to that nasty spinning side kick straight to the gut, and it just retired Stipe right then and there.
Yeah, listen, man. Again, we had predicted this. We knew, unfortunately, for Stipe, there's just too many factors going against him. Forget the John Jones thing. John Jones being a goat. Just too much time out of the ring. Just age. Too many things that unfortunately just don't spell a good night for any fighter. So it is what it is. It happened just like most predicted. Obviously John Jones was a heavy favorite in this. Shout out to Stipe. Unfortunately for the MMA community, he is retiring, but good on him. Stipe has edged himself with his legacy. The most defenses of a heavyweight title in UFC history currently. So Stipe deserves to be able to retire now. Again, he's a little bit older now, but he's got I believe 4 or 5 kids. He's got a good amount of kids under him. One of his kids born not that long ago, a few years ago. So good for him for retiring, man. He's made his money. He's got his family. He's got his faculties, all that good stuff. So it is what it is. Good on him. We've seen a legend retire, and John Jones himself said he's not retiring. He's gonna weigh out his options, which he does have a few. We'll be talking about a few of them in a different video. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see what's up next for everybody. It'll be an interesting dynamic. And with that, make sure to like, comment, hate, subscribe, DM us about the bullshit, and
Until next time, get rest and stay blessed. We'll see you in the next one.